June 23, 1950. Northwest Orient, Flight 2501 takes off from New York's LaGuardia Airport with 58 souls aboard. Destination, Seattle, Washington. The weather is perfect. The aircraft is a proven Douglas DC-4, the backbone of commercial aviation. The crew is experienced. Everything about this flight is routine, except for one impossible detail. This aircraft would completely vanish over Lake Michigan without leaving a single piece of wreckage. No distress call, no emergency beacon, no debris field. For 74 years, it's remained one of aviation's most baffling mysteries. And what investigators discovered about this routine flight will change everything you think you know about commercial aviation safety. To understand how impossible this disappearance truly is, you need to know what a Douglas DC-4 represents in aviation history. This wasn't some experimental aircraft. The DC-4 was the most trusted passenger plane in the world in 1950. Airlines had flown these aircraft millions of miles without a single unexplained disappearance. The engineering is bulletproof 4 Pratt & Whitney twin Wasp engines. If 3 failed, the 4th could still fly the plane. All-metal construction designed to survive extreme weather. Multiple backup systems for every critical function. Range of over 2,500 miles with full passenger load. The DC-4 had proven itself in military service during World War II, flying dangerous cargo missions over the Himalayas and across submarine-infested oceans. Commercial airlines called it the safest plane in the sky. But Flight 2501 would prove that even the impossible can happen. Captain Robert Lind had over 10,000 flight hours. First Officer Vern Wolfe was a decorated military pilot. Flight engineer Bonnie Fry knew every bolt and wire on the DC-4. This was an A-team crew flying a proven aircraft. The flight plan was straightforward: LaGuardia to Minneapolis, refuel, then continue to Seattle. Total flight time: about 8 hours, routine as a bus ride. For the first 4 hours, everything went exactly as planned. Flight 2501 checked in with air traffic control at every waypoint. Weather reports showed clear skies ahead. Passengers settled in for the overnight journey. Then, at 11:51 p.m., everything changed. Captain Lind requested permission to descend from 4,000 feet to 2,500 feet to avoid some minor turbulence. Air traffic control denied the request. Another aircraft was already at that altitude. At 11:51 p.m., Lind acknowledged the denial.
"We'll maintain 4,000.
Those were the last words ever heard from Flight 2501. Here's what makes this disappearance scientifically impossible. A Douglas DC-4 weighs 73,000 pounds when fully loaded. It's 94 feet long with a 117-foot wingspan. Even if it crashed into Lake Michigan, the debris field would be enormous and easily visible from the air. But the morning after Flight 2501 vanished, search teams found nothing. The search effort was unprecedented. 190 aircraft combing 640 square miles of lake surface, Coast Guard cutters with advanced sonar equipment, civilian boats, military vessels, and diving teams, the largest search operation in Great Lakes history. They found a few small pieces of debris, blankets, seat cushions, a briefcase, but the aircraft itself, gone, as if it had been erased from existence. Here's what baffles investigators. Lake Michigan has an average depth of just 279 feet. The technology existed in 1950 to locate and recover a DC-4 from that depth. So where was the plane? Recent meteorological analysis has revealed something terrifying about the night Flight 2501 disappeared. While official weather reports showed clear skies, atmospheric conditions over Lake Michigan that night were perfect for a phenomenon meteorologists didn't understand in 1950: explosive microbursts. A microburst is a column of rapidly descending air that can hit an aircraft with the force of a Category 5 hurricane. When this air hits the ground, it spreads out in all directions, creating wind shears that can flip an aircraft upside down in seconds. But here's the deadly part. Microbursts are invisible. No radar in 1950 could detect them. Pilots had no warning until it was too late. Modern computer modeling of atmospheric conditions that night shows multiple microbursts likely occurred over Lake Michigan between 11:50 p.m. and 12:30 a.m., exactly when and where Flight 2501 vanished. The scenario is terrifying. Flight 2501 encounters a violent microburst at 4,000 feet. The aircraft is flipped upside down and driven into Lake Michigan at over 400 miles per hour. The impact would have shattered the plane into pieces so small they'd sink immediately. Flight 2501 disappeared during what aviation experts call the technology gap, that dangerous period when aircraft were faster and more complex than the safety systems designed to protect them. The DC-4's electrical systems were vulnerable to a phenomenon called St. Elmo's fire, static electrical discharges that could knock out radio equipment and navigation instruments. On the night Flight 2501 vanished, atmospheric conditions over Lake Michigan were perfect for generating massive electrical disturbances. Consider this scenario. The aircraft encounters severe electrical disturbance that knocks out all radio equipment. Captain Lind can't communicate his emergency. The electrical failure also affects the navigation instruments, leaving the crew flying blind in the darkness over the lake. Combined with the microburst weather phenomenon, Flight 2501 faced a perfect storm of 1950s technology limitations that would be impossible today. But the mystery deepens when you consider the cover-up. In 2004, researcher Valerie Van Heest made a shocking discovery while investigating Flight 2501. Military records showed that radar operators at multiple bases tracked an unidentified object over Lake Michigan the night of the disappearance. The object was moving at speeds impossible for 1950s aircraft. When Van Heest requested the full radar records, she was told they had been lost or destroyed. More disturbing, several witnesses reported seeing a bright flash of light over Lake Michigan around midnight on June 23rd. All of these witness reports were collected by investigators, then classified and buried for decades. The official cause of Flight 2501's disappearance remains unknown, the same conclusion reached for Flight 19 and Amelia Earhart. What really happened to Northwest Orient Flight 2501? Was it a weather phenomenon beyond 1950s understanding, electrical system failure, or something else entirely? The truth may still lie somewhere beneath the waters of Lake Michigan, waiting to be discovered. Share your theories in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed for our final video in this series, the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370, where the world's most advanced aircraft vanished in the age of satellite tracking. The mystery continues.